Hi, my name is Bugsy, and this right here is a mealworm. Tiny little innocent creature that you might often see at pet stores. As you can see, he is alive because he is moving around a little bit. He's just sleepy because he's in what's known as the grub stage. The grub stage is when they begin to pupate. So I'm going to put him back in his little enclosure and let him sleep, so that way he can pupate. Mealworms are often used as feeders more often than anything else because they are, well, easy to breed. And they are very easy to breed. I mean, look at how many I have in this little container here. These are pupa and adults mixed, because I still have to move the adults out. And I have an entire container over here full of adults, which are constantly breeding.
Mealworms are actually the larval stage of a beetle called a darkling beetle. The specific species for mealworms you will find at a supermarket are called Tenebrio molidor. They appear white and red when they first hatch out of their pupal casings, but then they start to darken as they grow up, and then they turn black, which is where they get the term darkling beetle from. These beetles often have a nasty reputation because of their fascination with eating oats and wheat. Along with that reputation comes superstitions. Some cultures believe that seeing them is a sign of bad luck. However, this is not proven true in any case.
But some of you might be wondering, how do you breed mealworms? Because you might be tired of going to the store and having to buy them because they're starting to rack up the prices after COVID-19. Or you might just be wanting to admire the creatures for what they are, like I do. In this video, I will show you how to breed a mealworm population from the beginnings to, well, the end. But there really is no end, as you will come to see. Typically, a pet store will sell mealworms in a 50 circuit container, or that just means 50 unit container, which also means 50 mealworm container. When you have a 50 mealworm container, what you're going to do is you're going to get a little cup, usually a deli cup like this, a larger one preferably. You're going to poke holes in the lid like this. Ignore the fact that I put younglings on it. That's just so I can remember which one is which for my own sake. And then you're going to put some oatmeal in it. Usually the type of oatmeal, it doesn't really matter if it's steel cut or old-fashioned, although I prefer using old-fashioned so that way they can maneuver around in it. And then you might be wondering, what are you going to do next? Well, you're just going to wait. You're going to wait for weeks upon weeks, and you're going to wait for a very long time at some points. You might even wait for 3 months, because what you're going to be waiting for is you're going to be waiting for the first pupa. Now, it's easy to spot a pupa because a pupa will usually be on the surface of the oatmeal, and the pupae looks like this. As you can see, it has a curled up tail, and it has a sort of shelled head. You can't really see the rest of the details because my camera is refusing to focus on the pupa, but that is what a pupa looks like. Over the course of the next few weeks, you're going to watch all the pupa that pop up, and you're going to put them in a separate container, probably another deli cup around this size, and you're going to put them all in here. Usually, mealworm breeders tend to put them in separate containers, but if you have them in a place where you can spot them immediately, just make sure you get the adults out as soon as you possibly can, because if you leave the adults in there and they start to starve, they will eat the other pupae. But I haven't had any problems with any adults eating other pupae, so I just tend to keep all of my pupae in one place.
A way you can speed up the process is by feeding the mealworms carrots or apples. However, I wouldn't recommend feeding them just carrots and apples, as the majority of their diet should be oats and wheat. You'll be able to tell when a pupa is ready to hatch when it starts to redden. Once the pupa begins to redden, it'll also start to move around. Just let it move around, it's not going to hurt anything, it's just going to be moving and moving until it starts to hatch. What you're seeing on screen right now is a pupa hatching. It's very, very interesting to watch, but it takes hours for them to hatch completely. I'll take the rest of this time to list facts related or relevant to breeding mealworms. Mealworms only need between 20 and 50% humidity. Mealworms and mealworm adults can survive perfectly fine without water. They can generate it from the air and the food that they eat. All stages of Tenebrio mollior are not toxic to any animal, however they do have a powerful stench towards smaller animals that makes them undesirable to eat. Mealworms are the only exception to the stench rule, meaning that they are generally palatable for any insect or reptile. Darkling beetles can lay up to dozens of eggs at a time, so be prepared that if you have up to 50 darkling beetles surviving from the 50 mealworms, that you will have a lot of larvae coming from those eggs. However, some eggs are duds, so you do not have to worry about 100% of the eggs hatching.
Then what you will do is once the adults have hatched, you will grab your deli cup full of the pupae, and you will grab a pair of plastic tweezers. Usually you can find one of these as like a little kid's toy for $1 or $2, and you will open the lid and just pick them up. Either that, or you can try to pick them up with your finger. However, I don't recommend picking them up with your finger because their feet are noticeably weaker than other darkling beetles, such as Zoophobas morio. And you might be wondering why you're taking them out of the deli cup. Why not just keep them in a deli cup? Well, you can't put them in a deli cup. You have to put them in a little beetle haven. Like this.
Typically, these beetle havens consist of a large amount of oats and a small piece of egg carton. They don't necessarily have to be very large, just large enough that the Tenebrio mollior beetles can move around and have a little bit of exploring room. You won't see them very much during the day, but at night you will see them out and about doing their thing. And don't worry about them trying to escape. They cannot climb up glass, plastic, and they can't fly using their wings.
Then, once you see that mealworms are popping up out of the substrate, or the adults are dying off in mass, you will want to move the remaining adults into a new enclosure, and then you have a brand new mealworm. Thank you for watching this video. It only runs over the basics of the entire thing. I hope it helped some of you who are just trying to get into the basics of it. If you want more specifics of the actual breeding process, I can make a more complicated video later down the line. Just let me know in the comments if you want me to make a bigger video about mealworm beetles or even their cousin Zoophobas morio.